Welcome to Apostates on the Fringe, a podcast brought to you by the Atheist Society of Knoxville. Today I'm with my co-hosts,
Alistair.
And I'm Dustin.
Today, we're going to talk about how fucked up Republicans are.
and apparently we're going to be doing it in NPR Voice 2.0.
Until I
love Dreamy Sam.
Yeah.
You have that fancy beer again.
Yeah, the pastry snout.
The pastry snout. That can is fancy as fuck, too.
It pretty much is like if you put a cake in a blender and added alcohol and drank
Well, you
it.
named all the ingredients last time. I was like, that's a lot of fucking ingredients.
Yeah, I can tell why it costs nearly $20 for a 4-pack.
Jesus Christ, Sam.
I got Elst Brewing Company's chocolate milkshake. I think I've drank this one or introduced it before. I know I've drank it as a second beer.
I've had this before. I haven't had it in a while. It's the from the Sweetwater Brewing Company in Atlanta. It's the Sweetwater Blueberry Wheat Ale. Again, we mentioned before. It's one of their better fucking beers. It's for being light, and it's the light and crispy, and the blueberry is just. It's not even subtle. Like, it's a good blueberry taste. I really fucking enjoyed it. I went out to a restaurant with a friend. The one who thinks you have a great radio voice but fucking hates you. It was her birthday, and I ordered the beer, and she had a Miller, and I made her try that, and she was really pissed off that she didn't order that beer. But as much as I love her, I'm not going to drink her Miller and me drink.
No.
But hey, do you guys have gas in your cars?
I have gas in my car.
I got some yesterday filled up. I'm hoping this gets over by a week, and I think it will.
So I heard about the news, and I was like. I mean, someone had messaged me from Johnson City, one of my colleagues. They're like, hey, is it crazy over here? The rednecks are going crazy. I'm like, and I just went to the Murphys down over by Kensal Way, just in and out, no problem, filled up. I had, it'll last me a while. But by 4 p.m. that fucking day, I went by Sam's over on the, over by the Walbrook, Walker Springs area. Fucking lines out the ass for that. At the Walmarts, lines out the ass for that. Weigel's not so much. I don't know why they're targeting like Sam Walton companies for fuel, but there were just lines fucking galore.
Yeah,
rednecks filling like jugs in their back of their fucking trucks and shit, and like they're creating this own panic. It's the toilet paper issue all over again.
I mean, this is what happened in the gas shortage of the 70s as well. This is pretty much the history of run on shortages. The shortages caused by panic, not the actual issue.
And you think, we go over this over and over and over again, and you think people would catch on and realize, we're creating the problem. But it's just, they keep fucking doing it.
There's no limit to human stupidity, and by human, I mean Republicans.
Have you guys seen some of the stupid images that have come from people feeling
God.
So plastic bags I've seen?
That one is actually, I've seen that a lot on posts.
Is that not
it's
real?
actually from 2019. It actually happened.
Okay.
But it's not from this one.
Bags.
But I've seen the Rubbermaid totes.
The totes,
filling those.
Right,
up.
and this which is going to splosh all over their vehicles as they're driving because those are not water safe, and the fumes.
Oh my God!
And some of the containers they're putting them in, like, it can degrade the quality of the container. So
I mean, it's not going to last long in an open container.
Every gas pump I've ever been to has very clearly said, "Do not use unapproved containers."
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Approach someone in a gas crisis and tell them not to do this when people are getting shot over telling someone to put a mask on.
I don't know.
These people don't get paid enough to fuck with those people.
I'd half be tempted to.
Yeah, I wonder what the Venn diagram of people freaking out over their mask rights and people hoarding gas are.
It's one big circle.
It's
one big circle.
But you're right; they're creating this own crisis, and they were the pipeline themselves, the Colonial Pipeline. They're like, we have enough supply. It's just a distribution. We'll get it to you. Chill the fuck out. And everyone's urging people, don't panic buy. But what are they doing? They're fucking panic buying. Now they're just fucking out of gas, just popping all over the place.
Well, these are the people who have been taught not to trust anything they hear.
What they do
if you tell them not to panic buy, the first thing they're going to do is go panic buy.
What they do trust is conservative media. Fox News, Tucker Carlson specifically has been riling them up and saying this is Biden's future with the new Green Deal happening. He's going to want you to. He's trying to roll back gas.
I've seen.
Fuck, that doesn't even make any sense. It's not connected in any fucking way. What,
They don't care. They don't care to know or.
They've got a short attention span too. He could tell them something completely different next week. It doesn't matter. He needs them pissed right now. They're not thinking people. They're like, empty shells ready to be filled with propaganda and sent out.
You've seen those memes already where it's like, hey, miss me yet with Trump in front of a fucking gas price sign, gag me in the fucking mouth right now, you dickheads.
I think it was like up to $5 a gallon or something, like pretty close, and it's like, it's not even like that.
No. I mean, there are outages, but because they caused their own fucking outage, right. And then they panic, and then they're like, oh, thanks, Biden. You fucking idiots.
We need to start using reverse psychology on them with this stuff.
They live in a bubble.
I know, like there's got to be a way to.
Q hasn't said anything, I don't think.
No. Q hasn't said anything in months and months.
I'm happy about that. I'm extremely fucking happy about that. But I mean, it doesn't mean that the Republican Party is still a shit show. I mean, we just saw this week that Liz Cheney was quickly fucking ousted from her leadership position in a voice vote that took less than 16 minutes. All because she had the audacity, y'all, the fucking audacity to say that Biden won the election and that Trump lost.
Is that all it was over?
That's all it was over, because she refused to say, she was standing up to Trump and the big lie, and that he lost the election. Biden won. It was a fair election, and he just lost. And of course, she was one of the 10 Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. And so, but she was she was the third highest ranking. And, Trump on his little blog that no one fucking went to NBC. NBC is like, no one's fucking going to this site. So it's funny. But yeah, they quickly fucking kicked her out because that's where their priorities are. Their priorities are not to realign the GOP. Their party, theirs is just to toe the line for Trump. And because she was quickly kicked out.
I mean, if you say a lie loud enough, it becomes true. So the left has a problem with unity. The right usually doesn't. So when somebody steps out of line, they smash them down. They don't care if it's true or not. They think that's their best interest.
I think Stephen Colbert called him out. Like, I thought you guys were totally against cancel culture, but you canceled the shit out of Liz pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny. There was a lot of tweets that came out as soon as that happened. I think that happened early Wednesday.
So what exactly was the vote? Because they can't, remove her from her elected position, right?
Well, no, but she's no longer in the leadership position.
Okay.
In there. That's all I know. And apparently it all stemmed from an interview where she said that she would not vote for him in 2024. And which is funny because immediately after she was basically ousted from her position, she made it very fucking clear that she would do everything in her power to prevent Trump from being reelected in 2024. So
was that a blind vote?
It was a voice vote, but I don't have the count. So, but again, I mean, it was done pretty quickly, so I imagine it was, if anything, only the 9 that probably are already in deep shit for voting to impeach Trump probably were the only ones that voted to not oust her from her position. I imagine the others quickly towed the line because, in a recent interview with Lindsey Graham, they said, if you go against Trump, the GOP you'll be erased from the GOP, and that's all it is. It's no longer the GOP; it's the party of Trump.
Yeah, they need to realize that there's no salvation for the GOP. That it needs to be dismantled at this point because they've gone too far, and anybody who thinks that they're moderate needs to figure that shit out.
Yeah, I don't know what the future would look like for them because
they're gonna keep growing if they. Look at what they're already doing to their own party. They're booting out people who don't follow suit. They're not losing their positions at all. So the GOP is just going to keep moving that direction.
But are they going to continue just to keep sucking Trump's dick off? Or?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's why
where can that go? Because he's been kind of quiet. I know he's having little mini rallies in Mar-a-Lago and shit, but he's not really making a lot of noise because he can't. Because he's continues to be kicked off of social media, which is his loudest megaphone.
If they step away from Trump, it's gonna end up being for somebody so much worse than Trump. They may actually find somebody who's just as evil as Trump, but with tact.
With tact and it's
going to be
they're smarter about it.
More presentable.
They're grooming Tucker Carlson.
Oh, dear fucking God.
I will fight you.
No, it's not a joke.
Like, don't say that out loud again. I will fight you.
Yeah, they're gonna just go with a straight up Fox News person who's been like the person that like that's what they're doing.
You know, it terrifies me because I think Tucker Carlson would get so many fucking would get all the followers. Like, he would pick up immediately right after Trump, and I think Trump would quickly endorse him.
He's being groomed for it.
Jesus
Fox
Christ.
News, like, we will never get this country free until we find a way to end Fox News.
Let's take a break from that nightmare and let's think about. Do you think this country would be ready for an AOC run in the future? I just knocked my mic. That's fun. Think she's too progressive for America?
I would love to see it, but I just...
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, she's fucking brilliant. I mean...
we couldn't even get Bernie to get through the primaries.
Do you think that was an age thing, though, You think that was one of the barriers because of his age? I mean, I guess not because fucking Biden's...
I think that was an excuse people gave, but so? I don't think that's...
I think by and large you're right that America is more centrist than we'd like to admit, and that they're not as progressive.
Larger at hand here that will not allow a real progressive to move up in the ranks.
Do you think the DNC is going to be a part of that problem?
Part of the problem, but they are just a part of the corporate-owned America. Like, America is a company, and they do not want a socialist running their capitalist company.
I mean,
what do you expect?
We can't really say that America's not ready for anybody that progressive, because when you look at, like, most polls in, like, the things that progressives are fighting for, which is health care, even, like, defunding the police, most of the country is for those things, but when it comes to electing people there's always barriers.
I think it's because the other side can craft messages that, demonize that side or stigmatize
that, and the Democratic Party is fucking itself too.
Yeah, they do that too.
It's both parties are fucking up the entire system, and
I mean,
it's fucking terrifying where this all can go, because we got a couple-year break where it's not completely terrifying, but what's happening in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it is again still very nice to not have to wake up and doom scroll, but again, a lot of policies that we'd like to see, push through. Although, as of right now, I'm gonna kind of spin off to a subject that we didn't really pre-plan on, but I'm happy to see a lot of companies that are forced to have to raise their minimum wage to bring in workers right now. There's a lot of companies who I scrolling through Reddit where several companies are now starting at 15 or 16 at fast food places because they realize they now have to.
So I would love to see it stay that way, and I'm hoping it does. I hope I'm wrong. But what I expect is as soon as the federal unemployment boost ends, what they'll start doing is cutting those people's hours, start hiring people in for the same old $8, $9 an hour they were before, and until all of those $15 an hour people are shoved out the door. They're not going to stick with it.
That's probably true.
That's why there needs to be a federal minimum wage increase. But, I mean, they created this system on purpose. They have to create desperation for those workers. Like, that's part of the system that is created. Like, I've come say every week, the system isn't broken, it was made this way. Like, wages are low for a reason, to make people desperate so they are willing to work those hours. Like, it's part of the plan. It's a feature, not a bug of the desired system.
According to some centrists we know, it's because those jobs aren't very valuable. Those skills aren't valuable.
They don't provide business value.
Those jobs are a dime a dozen, or the people who are able to work those jobs are a dime a dozen, and they can get rid of people and bring them back in. But you think about, like, when people are like, it's not skilled like labor, and go get more skills so you get the better jobs. But how many fucking people working in grocery stores and shit like that have a degree, have the skills, but there aren't the jobs there for them? It's not
That's
as simple as well. There's just so many workers there of low skill that can do those jobs.
Yeah, I've been trying to explain to people as well that the university system and the class is basically a class system, and that's why student debt is a thing, because it's another class barrier. If you want to get skilled and raise above your class, too fucking bad. You're still poor, and now you're still going to be poor no matter what skills you gain, because now you have to pay all this off. Mm-hmm. It's like I said, like people act like it's like, oh no, oh, the system's broken. Like, no, it's working fine. Like, this is what it's meant to be. Like, you can, hey, how dare you get an education and raise above your class? Like, no, you're still going to be working shit jobs. Thank you for keeping yourself into debt and poverty.
And you'd mentioned earlier when the federal unemployment boost goes away. It's a perfect segue to bitch about Bill Lee. Sam, why don't you kick us off?
Well, Bill Lee
can suck my balls.
Bill Lee's about the biggest bastard in our state, and recently he has. This isn't the first time that he's even done this, right?
Well, I know he denied expanding Medicaid during the Obamacare.
It is up. So basically, it's in his best interest to keep Tennessee poor by denying any benefit packages from the larger government.
Yeah, any federal money, he tries to fuck people
and
out.
And he recently just denied.
Because he wants to keep Tennessee poor, because that's in his interest. Because Tennessee is trying to be billed as a libertarian stronghold. Like, that is what is happening in Tennessee right now. It is the business state. Like, the recent right to work laws are the same as this too. We see it on a city level with the way that businesses get handed development contracts that are basically money laundering schemes. Like, Tennessee is a libertarian haven, and part of that is keeping federal money out of poor people's hands.
So recently, I believe he removed or is ending the $300 unemployment boost, and that's set to expire in July.
It's a little bit more than that. It cuts off like who qualifies for unemployment.
The gig workers no longer qualify.
Like there are 4 different things it affects as far as like what the federal government has granted. And Bill Lee's like, well, fuck the federal government. We're not using any of the stuff they offered.
And his excuse was there are 270,000 jobs available, and he's pushing this as get Tennessee back to work sort of bill.
The only thing you're going to do to stop this is to make sure Bill Lee doesn't fucking sleep again.
I can't.
But Tennessee won't protest.
No,
they won't.
I mean, I'd be down to sit outside his house.
The fascism's successfully been crushed. Has crushed the working people here.
Well, not only that, what's even worse is a week prior to him doing that, the Assembly voted to reduce the amount of weeks of benefits down to 12. I mean, this is drastically under the average. Not only is Tennessee already under average for their weekly payments of $275 for unemployment, they're on one of the low ends already. But now with only 12 weeks of benefits, like that's. I mean, anyone lose their jobs, like especially if depending on what kind of field you're in, 12 weeks may not be enough to. You
keep talking like that, and you're going to make Ayn Rand's ghost come. You watch out. Like this is a libertarian haven. This is exactly what they want, and I still know libertarians that think it's not enough, but that's Tennessee. It's not going into their pockets. If you're mad, just go over to Blueberry Farms and take it out on somebody.
It's, all the fucking Republicans that, like, vote against their best interests. Like, this is keeping them poor, too. It's not all Democrats who, are unemployed right now. This is going to fuck a lot of Republicans, too. It's, like... But they're cheering it on, most likely.
Right, because the Republican like stance is that the poor are always trying to benefit and game the system, and so they're trying to teach them that they're unemployed only because they make more money to stay at home, and they're just gaming the system. You hear the same thing when they bitch about that people on SNAP benefits can buy a steak. I mean, you hear this shit all the time that they think poor people should have fucking no benefits, no rights, and they that's their game. That's their shtick, is to make the enemy not the uber elite, not the rich that are actually fucking them over. It's the illegal immigrants who are taking these benefits from you. It's these people who are gaming the system with SNAP benefits that are taking the money from you, and that's how they frame it. And these people fucking buy it. I hear it a lot.
They found the perfect formula of how to brainwash and use idiots. Like, that's the Republican Party, that's religion. They're married together, Republican Party and religion. This is just how you take empty-headed people and use them as your puppet for political gain.
I mean, I hear it and see it all the time, especially in my line of work. I mean, I work in finance, and there's a lot of things I didn't know before I got into this. I didn't know certain things. Now I know how people spend their money. I know where they get their funds. And these people aren't gaming the system and living lavish fucking lifestyles that these people think that they are. Like, they are just fucking not. Like, the things that I learned, the revelations that I learned, that these people aren't fucking impoverished. And if they want to steak every fucking once every 2 months or once a month, like, I don't understand that. I've seriously heard people bitching about that. I mean, have you seen that before? Where,
oh, yeah.
I mean, isn't that fucking ridiculous? They're upset that they can get what they call luxury items with SNAP benefits. Like, fuck you. You think these people can't deserve a little luxury in their life?
No, and for all you know, that was their birthday. That's all they really were able to do for their spouse for their birthday, is buy them a steak.
Anniversary, or whatever the case.
Right. And it's. I remember when I was a single parent, people probably didn't like that I used SNAP benefits to get my kid a birthday cake, but it was the only way that my kid would have a birthday cake for their party. Yeah, but I also know in Tennessee, the amount you get for food stamps, even if you get the maximum benefits, it's not enough to feed your family for the month. It's supplemental. That's all it is supplemental. You're still paying for food. It's just not enough for a family to solely live on.
But the right has also grasped to the meme propaganda. I know you've probably seen where there's a fridge just chocked full of fucking groceries, and they label it as someone that's on SNAP benefits and someone that's mid income that's like bare and empty, and and they buy that shit up. And like Sam said, they found the formula for propaganda and they eat that shit up.
I can tell you, as somebody who's been on food stamps and someone who is not now, my fridge looks exactly the fucking same. I mean, there's no difference. It's still not fully stocked, But
to my point is that the right has done a very good job of making the poor people the enemy instead of who is actually causing the fucking problems in the capitalist fucking world we live in, and the top 1% that control everything. But they know who to direct their anger towards instead of what the real problem is. So.
You keep the working class fighting against each other, then they can't fight.
Yeah, distraction's a good distraction.
I don't have time for these people either. You can't change their mind. There's no point debating with them. Hey, these are the guys that are actually fucking you over, and then they yell something about Q at you. Like, there's no conversation to be had.
What's funny is you can get a lot of them at a point in the conversation where they admit that it's all these people. Like, they know that
There's
it's
a barrier,
who's
though.
fucking us over, but they still find a way to blame it on the poor people. Like, even though they'll admit, yeah, these corporations are a problem. Like, okay, let's all go towards them. Let's all express our anger to them.
But then you also have the libertarians who, when you say tax the uber rich, and they're like, well, they're not liquid. The money they have is not... Sam, what was that look for, bro?
We basically made a whole podcast to shit on one person. I don't know if anybody knows this, but that's basically what this is.
I was going to say earlier, you said you had no time to argue with these people. It's like, you literally just had an argument with one person regarding...
I stopped arguing with him. You made a good point.
I jumped in there, and god damn, dude, I regret doing that.
But no, there are those that hold the stance that, the wealth that these billionaires have isn't liquid, so taxing them wouldn't be appropriate. I'm like, is it though?
Yeah, I know. That's why we want guillotines. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, what gets me with the it's like they think we haven't thought about the fact that it's not liquid. Like, we do discuss those things. Like, it's, you get taxed based on your stocks. You get taxed based on these other, the value of these things.
Well, not only that, but stop allowing these fucking companies to hold offshore accounts and, subsidies where they basically sell the intellectual rights to their company to that as a way to, loophole these taxes because they can write that off as an expense.
Yeah. And
that's just a loophole that needs to be that's one of the loopholes that needs to be closed.
That one's exploited a lot.
Yeah, it is. I think Amazon is one of the ones that does that. I'm pretty sure even Apple fucking does it. Apple's a big tax evader as well. The top fucking largest companies in the world are in the U.S. and they're not paying shit for taxes.
I've heard, they've won. They won capitalism.
Oh yeah, they won the game. They won the game a long time ago.
Yeah.
Between Alphabet, Google, Alphabet is Google, but so Alphabet, Amazon, and Apple, like the top three, and then Microsoft, like every fucking one of them. And I don't think not a single one pays what I would say their fair share of taxes,
You
which
can
would
go into
untold
GE,
billions.
You can, like, all of the companies, they get such big tax breaks that they end up paying, and this has been since the Occupy, I know, is when I started paying attention to it. So, like, they just get it away with it. What is it?
Occupy accomplish?
Nothing.
Yeah.
No. Does anything really ever happen to the ultra elite?
No.
It caused more Nazis to spawn. The libertarians, and that started growing.
I mean, Ted Cruz even fucking admitted that we let companies get away with billions of dollars. Coca-Cola, for instance, owes us at least, $9 to $12 billion. And they're saying it out loud. They don't care. So.
I mean, they're untouchable. Like, they've won. They're gods amongst men.
I mean, fuck Ted Cruz, by the way, before we move everything else. I just want to get that out of the way.
Fuck Bill Lee, too.
Bill Lee's, I mean, I don't know. What's worse? I mean, Tennessee's a really shitty state. I can say that as someone that has lived here my whole life.
Who's worse,
Bill Lee or Marsha Blackburn?
In terms of its politics.
Oh my fucking god, Marsha Blackburn.
Who's our worst representative? Because we got some bad. We don't get any good ones. So I'll say that.
Marsha Blackburn is just like the worst, one of the worst of the worst.
Her ads during election time.
I refuse to watch those. Unfortunately, like occasionally I would watch sports ball, and this is right when she was running against Phil Bredesen, I believe. Is that who it was for that position?
Yeah, I think so.
Rich asshole versus rich asshole off.
Yeah, but her entire ad campaign was, I'd suck Donald Trump's dick if I could.
That's pretty much all. I'm pretty sure I read that on the caption.
But she knows her voters, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I would too."
I wanted so badly to get a stencil made of "Grab 'em by the pussy" to spray paint on all her campaign signs.
Were there a lot of campaign signs around here?
Oh god, yes, yeah.
I tried to avoid looking at that shit because I fucking hated her, and because she really did take every opportunity. She really did take every opportunity to suck Trump's dick off every chance she got. And now, but I think she knows that because he rewarded her for that.
Oh yeah,
he had her on stage a lot, front and center. Great senator from Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, fighting for your freedoms. Fuck off. She knew what she was doing. She played the game well.
She played it, and she's going to be in that position for a while.
Anybody that votes for her is an enemy of the people. I will not give them an ounce of respect. I don't care who it is.
But she will just have to deal with it because we're in fucking Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I know that 80% of the people around me, I would not help them if they were drowning. So, just saying.
Sam, you say that, but you're a compassionate fucking guy.
I'm compassionate. I'm compassionate for my fucking friends. I'm not compassionate for people that are like making every single person in this country, if not world's, lives worse. That would be compassionate.
Sam, you said something was breaking over there? What'd you got?
It is coming out now that Greenberg is pleading guilty on the Gaetz Gaetz case, the Matt Gaetz case.
And so, what does that mean for Gaetz?
I mean, if he's pleading guilty, then that means he's spilling the beans. Like, so it means that that hopefully something is going to actually hold him accountable for what he's been doing, because the Republican Party won't.
No, they won't. Like I said, they quickly ousted fucking Cheney, but turn their heads away from Gaetz. They don't give a shit.
They know that the Republican Party is full of pedophiles, whether it's be religious people or libertarians. They both are all like, oh, what's wrong with fucking 16-year-olds? So I don't think they see a problem with it. Like, they probably want to lower the age of consent. I mean, they literally do, don't they?
There's a lesson in all of this Gaetz and Greenberg stuff, though. Like, no matter what, never fucking write your crimes down on paper. Because this is what got them both into all of this, with Greenberg writing
Don't give them tips. Don't give them tips. I want these fuckers to continue to be stupid as shit
What about
and get
them,
caught.
like, literally showing their colleagues pictures of their crimes?
Oh
Like,
my
what about
God.
that?
Yeah, that's right. He was literally showing images, right?
Hey, look at this 14-year-old I banged.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty hot, right? I know her titties
But
haven't
they
come
didn't
in
even
yet.
rat him out until fucking Greenberg wrote down. He's like, oh, yeah, I've done this. Matt Gaetz was with me when we did this. We paid the 17-year-old.
Jesus
And
Christ.
like,
I mean, I'm kind of happy that their stupidity knows no bounds and that they get caught, but I mean, still, I don't want to get. They're not. It's not
you know what? It's not stupidity. It's not. It's
Arrogance?
It's arrogance.
Knowing that they can get away with anything in their party.
I mean, I was listening to something about Gaetz the other day, and he's always been a little fuck. He's been a shithead, rich kid who knew his family could get him out of any kind of trouble, so he did whatever he wanted, screwed people over, and yeah, he got out of everything. And that's how he got to the position he's in today. Like so many others. Their money gets them, like fucking Trump.
It really is.
Trump can commit all these crimes, get sued, everything else, and his money gets him out of all the fucking trouble.
Yeah, and that's so infuriating. That's why they call him fucking Teflon Don, and they fucking
Nothing sticks.
Because nothing sticks.
And he's toxic and won't go away.
Yeah,
And he's a cancer. And he's giving cancer to all of us.
And they don't see the irony in calling him that, knowing that your boy is fucking like felonious as fuck, but you're like, nothing sticks to him. That's just the base, man. It's just it's infuriating. It's infuriating to say the least.
Because especially when you talk about these are the law and order folks.
Oh, you're right. Absolutely,
you know,
right.
they want to like.
By law and order, they mean fascism. Like,
well, yeah,
just like
law
and order for them.
It depends on your shade of white.
For their shade, yeah, and they feel safe being white, and that they're not 17 anymore, so they're not going to be sex trafficked, which has a really loose definition, but. I still wouldn't put Vegas money on Gaetz actually going to jail, because I just know this country.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna put.
I wouldn't have put Vegas money on fucking Chauvin either. I mean, I'm glad that he was fucking convicted, and I have a follow up to this later with what happened this week. But with Gaetz, you're right.
This seems too big, and it seems like there's too much evidence there against them for it to go away.
Has he been officially been charged with anything? I don't
Not
think so.
yet.
So
He
I don't
hasn't.
The Republican Party is great at scapegoating, so maybe I don't know. I mean, if he's pleading guilty, he has to be doing it in hopes that not all of that is going to come down on his head.
That may be true. They could have offered him a sweet deal to plead guilty, as long as if their primary target is Gaetz, then that could very well be.
God, I hope their primary target is Gaetz.
Yeah, I think that's why people are celebrating. Maybe premature, but that's the update.
And
Hey, I'll take hope anywhere I fucking get when it comes to this.
Probably why they got Greenberg first, though, is to get the information from him, because he's clearly the dumbass of the. Because it's one other person I think involved too. I don't know that name.
I'm not aware of that.
I thought he wrote to try to get 3 people off on a pardon, but it makes sense for them to grab one person to try to get the others.
Yeah, these are federal charges, right? Or are these state charges?
I think these are federal charges.
So if they're federal charges, we know Biden's not going to fucking pardon him. So yeah, he lost that ability when Trump lost the election.
I wonder who else wrote letters asking for a pardon. What else is going to come out in coming months?
Yeah, we'll see. But I wanted to roll back before we get to our ACAB of the week. There's been an update in the Chauvin trial, and that one of the judge, I don't know who, ruled that there were aggravating circumstances which will allow for an increased sentence beyond the sentencing guidelines for Derek Chauvin. This will also potentially apply to the other three who have other three officers. Now, I did learn today that their trial has been delayed. I didn't click the article because I was busy today. I'll look into it later, but that's not important. The important part is that with the aggravating circumstances, the sentencing guidelines can now be extended to beyond the 12 years that we initially thought for his charge. So that's some good fucking news.
Well, 12 years was just the lowest charge, wasn't it?
No, that was going to be the most that he could have probably served for that.
I thought it was 20. Oh, served, though.
No, that's basically it. The sentencing guidelines, because of no priors and nothing else, it was going to be basically 12 years, unless a judge ruled that there were aggravating circumstances.
Well, all four of them have federal charges now.
That's
too.
right. They do have federal charges too, as well. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is ACAB of the week.
So I think it's a good time to do ACAB of the week. Al, what you got for us this week?
So down in Baton Rouge, there's a situation where like 700 cases so far have been thrown out and the prosecutors are saying hundreds more, maybe. Like they're talking about like tens of thousands of cases could be thrown out because of they had a whistleblower named Jeremiah Ardoin.
I don't know how to pronounce that name. I saw the name too.
Ardoin, Ardoin. So, like, apparently the situation was he was out on a call and they found some pot. One of the officers out there with him, like, opened the bag of pot and started taking some of it out of it, started taking some cartridges. And he looked over at Jeremiah and was just like, oh, I got a buddy who likes these. It's cool. And he ended up
like nonchalant,
yeah.
just thought he'd be cool with it.
Yep.
And then he used the police tape to reseal the evidence bag. And
right.
Back
Right.
Off. Okay.
What is this, training day?
So he ends up going to the superiors about it, and apparently, like many of the officers did it as common practice there. Mm-hmm. And so the Jason Acree, who is the one who was digging into the bag and tell us about, he got one of his undercover people to approach Jeremiah with stolen items to buy. All of it in the box.
Yeah, they were
packaged.
sealed, right? These were all sealed in the plastic.
Nothing to let him know that it was stolen, and he went ahead and bought it. And
it was 2 cameras and a television. They were 2
ring cameras
and a television for $500. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll buy that."
And so they arrested him, and then he started singing like a fucking canary about everything he's seen in that department. And
some of the things that have come to light on that are fucking atrocious.
I haven't seen all of it.
Let me kind of run you through, because I read the article twice that you shared it to me, because I read it when you first shared it. I was like, well, when you first shared the story, my first initial reaction was, this guy better change his fucking name and move, because, I mean, cops turning on each other is just something that does not fly.
And he's a black officer,
and he's a black
too.
officer,
like,
so... That my first thought was, this guy's life is probably in jeopardy, and I hope,
Good thing witness protection has a pretty good background on.
But let me tell you some of the fuckery away that was going on. So not only was the drug charge, him stealing the drugs, but there were a multitude of from Acre and a few others, and where they would willingly plant these drugs on people,
right?
And this had been going on for a long time. Not only because I think there's this unwritten rule that they had to make 1 drug arrest a day. And so to do that, they would target black and brown people and do these trumped up charges. I mean, you said 700 cases. There was one of the investigators saying we may need to go back to 1980 because if this is a taught behavior, this is nothing new to this department. Can you imagine this? You said 700 cases. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine the sheer number of people whose lives have been...
This is, for the article, it says, we are basically wholesale dismissing cases. Look at the numbers. This is a shit show for us, Moore told The Advocate. The bigger question is, how far back do we go? When did all this start? Ardoin expects the number of charges dismissed to eventually reach into the 1,000. Alana Bloodsworth of the Baton Rouge NAACP social justice chair envisions as many as 10,000 cases could be tainted by the drug unit. If 640 cases just shook out of the tree, how many cases is it? She said during an interview. To me, that's just a testament of how many cases could actually be out there.
Right, and I've seen videos of cops blatantly placing drugs on individuals, and this is now when we have cameras, right? We talked about it before.
There is the fucking old Cops show, the original version of it. And one of the very first episodes, they caught somebody planting drugs on somebody.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're like, how far back did this go? I don't know. When was that police force established? Like,
right. But now I'm just thinking if this is just from one individual. So right now, they're targeting anything that Acri or Acri had his fingers in. And that's between 600 and 700 and potentially more. This is an entire police department and a police force over several years. How many fucking lives have they ruined of innocent people that they just stop because they're black and brown, because they have a quota, an unwritten rule that they have to make one drug arrest a day in Baton Rouge, and so they have these drugs on them that they probably steal from evidence because they want to keep their fucking jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's Louisiana, right? So like that's one of the bottom 5 states in everything. Like that is like the shithole of the country, like bottom 5 in or worst in crime, lowest in education,
right.
Like a Republican state, of course. Like that, there's never been any gain or good news that has ever really come out of there, and a lot of this is systematic abuse of this that just happens. And I'm sure this isn't just in that county. I'm sure it's across the whole state, if not the whole country, but specifically here.
Right. I mean, when it comes to the police conduct here, not only stealing evidence, but to blatantly target, and within the article itself, that they would blatantly target black and brown people and trump up those charges by planting these drugs on them and just fucking their lives over just because, hey, I have a quota. And this was taught to them. They didn't learn this themselves.
I mean, the Civil War never ended there.
I'm looking at Jason Acree's mugshot photo, and I'll put money on the fact that he has a 3%er sticker somewhere on his fucking truck.
3%.
Or that, or the fucking Gadsden flag somewhere on it.
Speaking of what I was talking about earlier, how they would just plant these things on there, I'm gonna read from the article, the same one you shared, Arduin. He also talked about a practice called snapping, where officers jumped out and planted drugs on random people to make arrests. Arduin claimed unit supervisors knew of Acree's actions and allowed it. He also required each, like I said, he required them to make one drug arrest per shift. That's per shift. And they would just lead to them, again, drug detectives jumping out and searching unwitting black and brown people without cause. Arduin did resign from the police force in April 27th. And when the IA looked into those claims, they found evidence to corroborate that. I mean, these aren't just baseless claims this cat's making to this article. Like that's why they're starting to dismiss all these fucking cases, because they're all fucking corrupt.
So anyways, Israelis are killing innocent people. Did you hear about that?
I did. They're launching missiles into the Gaza Strip, into residential areas, forcing people out. I think this whole thing stems from, I think they're trying to expand their border yet again.
They absolutely are.
That's
exactly
what they
going
do.
on.
I'm pretty sure they have like a calendar. They're like, oh yes, let's extend our border today. It is like, that time.
It's March? It's May 11th. Let's go ahead and fucking bomb Gaza.
Oh, it's time to just push a little further. It's okay. The U.S. has us backed.
They absolutely do, and the entire Republican Party, let's not forget that, sucks.
Because of religious means to destroy the world.
That is true.
Don't forget about the reason.
Well, not only that, because it's also anything against Muslims, the Christians will sign on to, I think.
Yeah, it is specifically to bring about the end of the world. We have to not forget that the Republican Party backs Israel for the specific reason of they're trying to bring about the end of the world. That is the whole other reason for Zionism.
There's double. They get to hate on Muslims, but while also calling anybody who criticizes Israel
anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
100%.
So it lets them wear their high hats of, hey, well, at least we're not shitting on the Jews, but we're going to shit on the Muslims instead.
But they're ignoring the fact that Israel's bullying the fuck out of
are.
Palestine right now, and like literally shooting, like launching missiles. I've read it for the last 2 days have been residential homes being destroyed in the Gaza Strip by Israel's missiles, who is happily defended by their Iron Dome system that was, provided to them by the U.S.
Yeah, and I had read a tweet earlier saying about how they give construction contracts to the U.S. to rebuild those areas for Israel once they reclaim it from Palestine.
Do you think there's
anybody else remembering that Gal Gadot said that it's okay to kill Palestinian children, and then they had a part in the new Wonder Woman movie where there was children in danger, and she specifically swooped in and protected the children. Wasn't that really cool? I really thought that movie was a piece of shit.
That movie was a piece of shit. Not only the fact that she used a living man as a dildo, essentially, but let's go back. Let's go back to Israel.
The Israel-Palestine thing. That was some really fucked up propaganda. But,
untold thousands of missiles are being launched. I mean, there was, 70 killed Palestinians versus 7 Israel?
There was actually just a report. They're doing... It's more than that now. You're getting almost daily updates for how many are dying each day from these missile strikes. If I'm not mistaken... No, they air and ground forces are currently attacking the Gaza Strip.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Palestinians are hopelessly unmatched to Israel's.
They don't have the.
I know they don't have the defense system that they have to protect themselves from missile launches.
They don't have the weapons of war that Israel has.
Yeah, it's almost like Israel is provided that by the country with the largest military budget in the whole world almost.
This isn't a war. This is a fucking genocide.
It really is. And it's not only over territory, but it's again based on religion, because the holy sites that they're trying to eventually take over there, that both the Muslims and the Jews, have a claim to.
Israel hates them, deep-seated, Capulet's Montague hate.
No, it's not real. I met someone from Israel who was here, and someone just walked by that I guess they just pegged as Palestinian, and as they left, he's like, "Fuck!" I mean, he just went on a fucking rant about.
Yeah,
how
that's
much
what I was even going to say about the people that I know that have escaped Russian totalitarian areas. They are still against Russia, and they're like, "Fuck Putin, fuck Russia." That's why I ran to America. But then when you ask them about the Azerbaijani war or this war, they're still on the side of that. They still side with that, and I don't know. There's a lot of propaganda in those places against it, just as you see here. I mean,
and that's how the Republican Party back to the U.S., because the U.S. does supply Israel, and that's how they get them to do that, is because they rally the right here, not only just the religious right, but even the religious left. There are a lot of Democrats who are pro-Israel.
Yeah, as Alistair was saying, it's. Oh, now you're being anti-Semitic.
Yeah, you can't be anti-Semitic, but then you're also against they also train them to be against Muslims, and that's just a fact.
I've been in a group chat today about it, and I'm the first to admit I don't know a whole lot. So I've kind of been paying attention to what my Jewish friends in this chat are discussing, and one thing they're seeing a lot of anti-Semitism from both the left and the right when discussing what's going on over there. As one of them pretty much put it, the Zion, what's going on there with the Zionists, it's basically the most extremist of the Zionists. There are a lot of Zionists that would condemn it as well. It's basically looking at the Trump supporters here. If we were waging war and Trump was in power and he was doing all of this, those are the most extreme of our people.
Mm-hmm. But that's not what the arms of government do. There's extreme arms are the arms of the government, and the government is doing that. And they, as we see in this country, they make sure to brainwash their citizens, who, by the way, every Israeli citizen has to go into military training, and a lot of that is brainwashing of, oh, you have to fight the Palestinians for a while, you have to, like, defend the borders, you have to, they intentionally... That's part of,
but
like...
they do have leftists over there, and they do have people that are fighting against that.
Of course. But that is their government.
Yeah, it is. I mean...
And their government is also backed by our government.
Uh-huh.
But this is also leading to a conflict that we haven't seen in years, since, I want to say, 2004, I think. And this, as it continues to scale larger, may turn into the war that they've maybe been looking for, I think, on the Israeli side. I mean, their ultimate goal is to ultimately take over, and they have the U.S. support.
Their ultimate goal is of goddamn genocide.
And they unfortunately have the support from the U.S. And we will continue to send funds and weapons, and we'll fucking and the majority of Americans will fucking support it and cheer them on.
On both sides of our aisle, on Democrats and
right, on both sides,
yeah.
because they're just pro-Israel. They're not looking at like, hey, they're fucking bullies right now, causing a genocide. They're just like...
It's really on both fronts. Like I was trying to say, the Armenian war against Armenia it's like it's coming from left and right, pushing in.
There's a certain part where you have to remove religion and all of that from the perspective, like, even if it started as a religion, there are fucking human rights violations. It doesn't matter the religious beliefs of who is committing them. They're being committed, period.
Yeah, I mean, there are absolutely 100% human rights violations, but I can almost guarantee you that not only will that be kind of presented to Americans in that way, from our side, from what we see, but it will also largely be ignored because of, again, the pro-Israel stance. I don't think that they will see them as human rights violation. I would think them seeing them as defending their territory, because they're going to see that Gaza is fighting back, and they're going to say that Israel's defending themselves. I can almost guarantee that that's how this is going to be spun in not only the media, but in the propaganda that's pushed around, because we all know that memes are a big way of how people determine their opinions these days.
Oh, well, I guess we'll see where we're at next week, but there is a lot of war going on. Like I said, it's coming from both sides. Like as we're talking, the Azerbaijani side of this is breaking. So it's, I don't know if this, like, there's a coordinated push to, like, eradicate the Muslims out of the area, it seems.
Do you think there will be a catalyst that drives us into the war that they've been kind of staving off? I mean, I know they've been occasionally firing into each other, every once in a while, but this has been really ramped up lately, and will, I think, only escalate. And Biden's in a tough spot right now.
I think both of these parties, like you said, they're bullies, but they, it's like when their victim, like, strikes back, they're like, oh, look what he did to me.
Right. That's exactly what it is, and that's, again, how it's going to be spun. I think Biden's in a tough spot because we know that Trump named their
and I'm glad that Biden's there instead of Trump. We'll say that, too. It's a delicate moment.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I know he's in a tough spot because he can't, politically, to come out against Israel's political suicide, but, I mean, he has...
Oh, yeah, because our country is run by our military force. It doesn't matter who the president is.
Yeah.
The military is going to do what they want to do, and they don't give two fucks who is the figurehead of the state, which is what a president is, a figurehead. So yeah, the war is pretty fucked. A lot of innocent lives are lost. But anyways, I don't have to wear my mask anymore. You just hear that?
I did. The CDC has said that unless, basically if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask largely indoors or outdoors, except within, crowded places like buses, hospitals.
Don't let strangers spit in your mouth is basically what they said.
Prisons and homeless camps. And, that's basically where all I hang out, so I don't know what I'm going to do now. I have to keep my mask on.
Yeah, our next Ask meeting is going to be right in the smack dab of that. So
I'm probably going to keep wearing mine because it's another place to put a political message.
It's political Antifa advertisement.
Not only that, but I don't have to smell people when I have that mask on. And when you work in retail, that's kind of a lifesaver.
Oh, man.
I think that I've thanked a mask that people can't see my facial expression a lot.
That's perfect.
You're at
really
a
good.
checkout aisle, and you're like, oh, fuck. You're like, oh, wait, I don't even have to worry about the disgusted look on my face.
I mean,
right
they
now.
can still see my, like, disgusted
It's in the
eyes.
eyes. My disgust is in my eyes, okay? Look up here, buddy.
But yeah,
When I'm side-eyeing a bitch, she notices.
But yeah, so now, we're going to expect to see more cities and counties begin to ultimately lift, and even businesses lift their mask mandates. And there's no, of course, you don't have to have proof that you're fully vaccinated, and we're just going to have a bunch of playgrounds. To be honest, there were some who could be shamed into wearing a mask, even if they weren't vaccinated. They could be, but now they're going to feel vindicated and free to do that.
Because all they have to say is I'm vaccinated.
Yeah, that's all they have to say. And just like before, when they couldn't wear a mask, they didn't wear a mask. I have a medical condition. Anything to avoid, being a fucking decent human being.
That's why I feel like the CDC is basically like, yeah, fuck y'all. Like, this is your own health. Like, if you wanted to get vaccinated, you're vaccinated by now. Or at least in Tennessee. I know that some of the more liberal states have a harder time getting vaccinated because there's more call for it. But in Tennessee, they're literally throwing it away.
They are. Every day I hear it. They're tossing vaccines because everyone who wanted to get it here already
if you wanted it, then you have it by now.
And I wish 12 to 15-year-olds can get it now.
Right. So Pfizer, they did lower the age for Pfizer to between for 12 years old, 12 years old and up. Obviously, I think Johnson & Johnson and Moderna are still at 18. But by and large, I think you're right that the percentage of people anyone who wanted one already got theirs. I would like to see the statistics. I don't know what there are, especially in our area.
I don't know.
Yeah, for what who has been vaccinated and who has not, and who has actually received their second dose, because untold millions also didn't get their second dose, so they're not as, it's not as effective. But
better than nothing, I guess.
Last night, before that news came out about what the CDC's saying about masks, Knox County School had a serious discussion about lifting the mask mandate in the schools.
Guess it doesn't matter now.
Yeah, well, they pretty much decided already that it would be up at the end of this year.
After this term.
You keep in mind, like, kids can't get the vaccine. Children under 12 can't get the vaccine at all. So, like, all these younger kids can still get it. But I know they don't have as much of a risk with COVID, but there still is one there.
Well, and they can also speak. They're carriers. All the fact is that they're still fucking carriers. And by the time when school starts back up back in September, that's going to push into October, November. What fucking happened last year in October, November? Knox fucking County and surrounding counties was the fucking number one per capita in cases.
Look, I'm going to talk my little class war shit again.
Go, Sam. We'll unleash you.
This is a Republican Democrat thing, isn't it? Like, most of the people that are dying of COVID right now that don't have vaccines are Republican voters.
I mean, I hate to make this a political issue, but it's very.
It is a political issue.
They made it a political issue.
They did. It's very clear on which side stands where, and who was more likely to take the vaccine versus who would absolutely not. And it is very clear divide that 23% of Republicans would just not. Now that fucks herd immunity.
Yeah,
it absolutely fucks herd immunity.
Oh, we're gonna be getting booster shots for the rest of our lives. That's
but the booster won't affect against or like protect against all strains.
And there's variants now. The India variants now in the U.S. At this point,
the vaccine still protects from that.
It's gonna keep on like it's the new flu. Yeah, it's the new flu.
Just a deadlier flu.
A deadlier flu, and this is our life now. But again, the CDC. Just basically gave everyone free rein to not wear a mask, and the ones who...
I think that's the CDC handing out Darwin Awards. I think that they're basically like, you know what? All you anti-maskers can go fuck yourself, go and die. Like everyone...
And anti-vaxxers, too. They're telling the anti-vaxxers...
anti-vaxxers,
Because these are people... It's so funny, because I know we haven't really talked about it, but there are people buying fucking fake vaccine cards when you can literally get a vaccine card for fucking free.
Yeah, but they don't want the vaccine.
Yeah, because they're scared. I don't know what's in it. Like, bitch, You just drink a Monster this morning. I can name 10 ingredients. You don't even know what's in there.
Yeah. Well, they're going to know what's in COVID, and it's know what the inside of a emergency room ward is going to look like.
Yeah.
I mean, Knox County hospitals are still, their COVID wards are still packed.
Oh, are they?
That's never not been true. They're still packed. Like, those numbers aren't going down, but, because Knoxville pretty much decapitated their health board. Like,
they stripped all the power from them.
They straight up murdered them. So the numbers are being really skewed. They're not true here in Tennessee, but they're just as high. And like I said, it's not to say that it's so I was making a joke that maybe Bill Gates' plan was true. He knew that all the idiots wouldn't take the vaccine, and then it would kill them all off. Sounds like a plot to me. Well, you're vaccinated.
We're going to get so much fucking hate mail from this.
Go cough on some conservative's face.
But we're vaccinated. We can't. It doesn't matter.
No, but we can still carry it.
Oh,
so that means if I get COVID, I can walk into a Republican meeting and cough in all their face and literally kill.
God, I'm gonna have wet dreams
about
1%
of them.
I'm so masturbating over that thought tonight of coughing on Republicans while I have COVID.
I'm gonna flip a coin and decide whether I edit all this out or not. Y'all. This is fucked.
So, anyways, fellow listeners, go cough in Republicans' face.
Someone's gonna sue us. I swear to fuck.
Well, what are they gonna do? Not come? Send whoever to serve us, and I'll cough in their face too.
We're talking about in Minecraft. Don't do it in real life.
Right. Go in GTA. Do it.
Not telling you to back over hookers or anything. Sex work is real work, but cough in Republicans' face. And on that note,
I'm going to kill it here.
This has been Apostates on the Fringe.
Oh, are you going to do this? You want to do it?
I thought we were closing out.
No, we're closing out. If you want to do it, can you remember everything I do?
No, I don't. So.
Okay.
You're going to have to do it for me.
Okay, well, Sam has
requested... in Republican's face.
Oh. Now, Sam has requested I do this in NPR voice. All right, guys, well, that's going to wrap us up for episode 15 of Apostates on the Fringe. I want to thank you all for joining us again this week. As always, you can find us on social media. We're on Facebook. And if you'd like to contact the show or get show notes and links to the articles, you can visit apostatepod.com. Please consider sharing out the show and giving a 5-star review everywhere you can. And we'll see you all next week.
Billy is a goddamn moron.
Fuck Israel.
Cough in Republicans' mouths.
Thank you all very much.
Apostates on the Fringe. Apostates on the Fringe.
The views and opinions of the hosts of Apostates on the Fringe do not represent the views and opinions of the Atheist Society of Knoxville. For links to all our musical contributors, go to apostatepod.com and check the About Us page. A big thank you to Michael Scott Arden, who allows the show to use his full catalog.